Hello and welcome to another video in the series of videos I am making for my channel Healing Sessions with Wouter. I get some reactions, which is good. People who wish me success, but I'm not doing this to be successful. I'm doing this because of the feeling I have to do this. It comes strength from within, from myself, that I need to do this. So the session I'm going to talk about is finding your passion. Which is actually what I'm talking about now, is my passion. It's not an easy one. Feeling a lot. But this one is very special. It's a very because when I started working together with someone who made appointments for me, so I could do the sessions. It was in Utrecht, in Holland. So I was doing my normal 9-to-5 job during the week, and in the weekends I did like 8 sessions per weekend, 4 on Saturday and 4 on Sunday. And those sessions showed me a lot. And I noticed that most of the time women came for a session. Let's say 90 to 95% of the sessions were with women. And I remember I asked my own heart how I could get more men on my table for inner work, inner journey and this is a session that one of the first sessions with a man. And when I asked my heart's intelligence, what needed to happen so I would have more men to do this kind of work, inner work, the answer was you have to make the women stronger, which was rather a funny answer, but true. Because I realized that, first of all the men that came for a session were sent by their spouse, wife, girlfriend, who previously came to see me for a session. And actually, a pattern in my relationships with women also pushed me in the direction of doing this work. So for me, relationships are more a way to grow personally, and sometimes if you're in a relationship you can grow together. But I remember when I started working on myself, because I noticed that my behavior towards my female partners was like back a pattern from a behavior with my mother, I started working on myself to find myself. Who am I? Now I can pretty much tell who I am. Yeah. So when I started working, it was with a shamanic female woman, and it was actually the first time. Actually, she was the beginning of my journey. So I'm an industrial engineer, so all mechanics and stuff like that. And until a certain moment, spirituality was for crazy people. I don't know, lightheaded. Yeah, I didn't believe a lot of it. So first of all, I had to be introduced in a way that I would believe it. So something special happened with this shamanic woman. Monique was her name. She's passed away years ago. But one very impactful event was the way how I discovered that I had chakras or energy centers, because until then I just didn't believe it, that existed. And to tell it shortly, I didn't have to do anything. She was doing all the work. So I was sitting in the chair, she was sitting behind me. I didn't see her because my back was towards her. And I think it was like after 6 or 7 months, because I visited her almost a year weekly, every week. And the only reason was because when I came back from a session with her, my girlfriend said, "You're different." In the beginning, I went to look in the mirror, and I thought I looked the same, but she said, "Your eyes are different." And after a while, I noticed that my eyes are different. My eyes are also different when I do this kind of work. And what happened after a few months of weekly visits, 6-7 months of weekly visits, I was sitting there, and I had learned to meditate, which after a while becomes second nature. I just was breathing, sitting in a chair, relaxed. No thoughts in my head, because I was just breathing. And while I was sitting there, relaxed, suddenly there is a thought that comes in my head on the right side, goes through my head and leaves on the left side. And the thought that passed, I could read it, because I could see my thoughts, of course. And the thought was, I'm going to open my solar plexus, my zonnevlecht, solar plexus. But of course, I heard about solar plexus, but I didn't believe in it. So I thought, okay, just a thought, let it pass, make it a cloud, and let it go away again, because it's of no value. But when I came back to this meditative state of just breathing, feeling the space of my head, my body, sitting in the chair, my arms, all those helpful methods, after a while, this same thought came for the second time. And then, okay, I was becoming a little bit nervous, because, I didn't understand why it had to come for a second time. And same thing came in, let it pass as a cloud, go out the left side, back to meditative state. Back to breathing, empty head, feeling the volume of my body, sitting in the chair. And then the same thought came back for the third time. And now I'm not saying anything, yeah? I'm just having this experience. The shaman, Monique, is still busy with whatever she is doing. But the third time that same thought passed, I was getting a little bit frustrated because, okay, it's not going to be the whole hour that I will be sitting here to have this thought going through my head. And while I was getting a bit frustrated inside without moving a lot, because now I'm moving a lot, but then I was not, I was sitting in a chair. And suddenly Monique says, Wouter, you have to stop. So first of all, I was frustrated because this thought was coming for the third time. And then she says, you have to stop. And I said to her, oh, I have to stop what? I'm not doing anything. Yeah, I'm just sitting here, breathing, meditating. That's not true, she says. So it's not true, it is. Yeah. No, she says. It's the third time that I have to put your solar plexus back as it should be, and you're turning it open all the time. So then there was like a massage table in front of me. I started hitting it, and because I was starting to laugh loud, because I could not believe this. I said, what the fuck, this is true. So immediately I realized that that with my thoughts, I could open the chakras that I have. I realized that then, of course, because yeah, she let me know, and she could see that. Yeah. Of course, this made me very curious because I just realized I have chakras and I can manipulate them or change the width and how far they go. Yeah. With my intention of my thought. So my body is listening to my thoughts and is responding to it. Yeah? Now the only difference would be that the previous 3 times the thought came from somewhere, I don't know where, but from somewhere. Yeah? And now I was going to launch the thought myself on purpose, not first time it came by accident. Now I would do it on purpose because I wanted to know if she would see it, of course, but I wanted just to play and test it. So back to the meditative state, breathing, empty head, breathing, feeling the space, my body, breathing, feeling the space, being aware, being present in the chair. And I waited because I thought she would be on alert. So then I waited 1 minute after the other, and every time I thought I said no, I wait. And in the meanwhile, she was still busy moving her hands because I could hear her bracelets around her wrists. And after at least, I think 4 or 5 minutes, which is a long time if you have to wait, I said, I'm going to launch the thought. And the thought was, I am going to open my solar plexus chakra. And when I started launching the thought, I just came to the first 2 words, I'm gonna. And then she replies, doesn't work anymore. Then I started hitting the massage table again because this was unbelievable. That I could launch the thought and that she would see it immediately. And after that she says, I mixed it up a little bit, but it's okay. Because when I opened the third time my solar plexus, by accident because the thought came through, and that she said, you have to stop. She said, actually, I'm going to protect your chakra with my energy, so you cannot open and close it anymore, which was weird for me. So when I launched the thought myself, then she said, no, it's not going to work anymore. doesn't work anymore. And in fact, she's right. And the deal was that she had placed with my subconscious energy was that the protection would go away when I was ready, which means for me that I would stay with myself. Because if you stretch your chakras, I have done the test a few times. Maybe it's interesting to talk about that. You can prolong your chakras, you can make them longer, and you can stretch them out to go feel with somebody else who's miles away. Actually, this is very interesting, what I'm remembering now, because your body is actually a family of cells. Yeah? Cells that move, that have an intelligence, even though the cells of my feet or my hand do not have brains, they know what to do somehow. Yeah? So actually, being able to move my body, dancing, yeah? It's for me it's like a miracle, yeah? Because I cannot explain how all those chemical substances in my body, like sodium, calcium, magnesium, zinc, yeah? You know the tabel of Mendeleev. It's all made of electrons, protons, neutrons, and if you take one, you have a certain, you have hydrogen, yeah? If you take 8, you have oxygen, yeah? If you have 9, I think it's carbon, or 8 carbon. Okay, you have the whole table, yeah, of Mendeleev, yeah, in which you see that every element has been made of a different number of electrons, protons, and neutrons. But if you look into those neutrons, protons, there is just energy, yeah? Consciousness. So limiting everything to your brain is actually, if that's the only intelligence that is there, is a wrong thought, because everything has a subconscious intelligence. Yeah? And there is a book, I don't think it is sold by now, and it's called The Secret Life of Your Physical Cells, of the cells of your body. Yeah. Secret Life of your cells. And you should read this book, because it started with plants. Yeah. This plant knows how I'm feeling. If you will read the book, they discovered it through a CIA agent who wanted to give a course to other CIA agents to work with a lie detector. Yeah. So if you know or not, you've seen in movies that some people can, if they trained for it, manipulate the lie detector. But in this case, the lie detector, which is actually a combination of resistances connected in a certain way. It's called the Bridge of Wheatstone. And through this special system of resistances, this machine or setup is able to measure very little electric tension, electricity. So very small amounts of electricity, of movement, of voltages. little currents in amperes. Yeah. So this guy, the CIA agent, they had to set up his lie detector, which uses a bridge of Wheatstone to measure small current, electric current changes in the skin, which actually, if you think about it, if you say something, your body feels it and knows if you're telling the truth or a lie. Which actually is quite amazing that my body responds from its own intelligence, not my mental intelligence, from her intelligence, and knows when I'm speaking the truth or not. So, what happened was that the CIA agent, normally, when he has set up his system, his lie detector, he has a person with him to sit in the chair and to connect the lie detector and then do some test questions. Now, he had no person with him that Sunday, so there was no one he brought with him to test this bridge of Wheatstone, this lie detector setup. And he was trying to be creative because on Monday the course would start with a group of CIA agents. And he had nobody to test it with. So, being creative, he saw a plant, a ficus. This is not a ficus, but he saw a plant in the corner of the room. And he thought, if I put this plant in the chair and I connect my electrodes on a leaf of the plant and I give this plant water, when the water is sucked up by the plant, that has to cause a change in electricity, will create a very small current, electric current, a little voltage, a little tension, which, when my electrodes are on this leaf, will be measured by my lie detector, and the pencil, which writes on the paper, will have some amplitude or some movement. So he took the plant, put it in the chair, connected his bridge of Wheatstone or his lie detector, went to the bathroom, took a can with water or a recipient with water, and what happened was, when he wanted to pour water, so no drop fell in the earth where the plant was sitting in. No drop water has fell in the earth where the plant was in. He was just thinking, I am going to give you water. And before any drop of water fell into the pot, the pencil on the bridge of Wheatstone was making big movements from left to right, without even water falling into the pot. So he's surprised, because what is happening here? Because nothing's changed physically with the plant. I just was thinking, I'm going to give you water. Now, is it possible that the plant knows what I'm thinking? Which is quite shocking, that would be possible. So he went outside and for a walk, to think about this, to relax about it and wonder, yeah? Because walking sometimes brings up ideas or insights. So he left the room, closed the door, went for a walk, On his way back, he wanted to buy something in a night store because it was Sunday evening. But when he wants to pay, I think it was a pack of cigarettes, when he wants to pay, he realizes that he forgot to take his coat with his wallet in it, so he could not pay. So he's a bit frustrated. Yeah? So he gives back the product, leaves the night shop, goes back to the room to get his vest, opens the door with his key. Nobody could have been in the room. Nobody could have been in the room. He grabs his coat, and he sees that the paper of the lie detector was still rolling. So he did not shut off the lie detector. And on the paper, there is like a time scale. And he looks, and he sees there was a movement of that had been a movement of the pen on the paper, while nobody had been in the room because he had the key in his pocket and had closed the room and went for a walk. It was Sunday. Nobody would be in that room, in that building, because he was just preparing the setup for the next day for the course to begin. And when he looked, when this movement of the pen happened, he realizes that it is about the same time that he notices that he forgot his wallet in the night shop. And I will come to why this is important for the healing sessions. Now, he decides to take a notebook and a pen, and to go for a walk again, close the room again, and whenever he spontaneously feels emotional, because by a sudden sound or that he is surprised, he will note it down. Yeah. So when he went for a walk, there were 3 events that shocked him, that he felt a shock. A car horning, so making a sound with his horn. Somebody yelling suddenly, and another abrupt sound. So 3 times that his body had a little shock for an unforeseen event, a spontaneous event. He had wrote down the timing and what happened. So after his walk, he goes back to the room where the lie detector is, and he sees that the plant, the ficus, who was connected to the lie detector, had reacted upon his feeling surprised by an unforeseen spontaneous event on each occasion, as if the plant was following him emotionally. Now, they didn't start the course because he called other colleagues who were a bit scientific and asked them to come. Next day, they brought like 10 or 12 lie detectors and started to do experiments. They first started with experiments on plants, but at the end of the book, they start with an experiment on human white blood cells. And now it is becoming very interesting. Very interesting. Because what do? They ask this person, a volunteer from the road, on the street. They say, okay, we want to do a test with you. It involves that we will take white blood cells through your gums and we will place them in a petri dish to keep them alive. We will move them 500 kilometers away from you, and we want to test if something spontaneous happens with you. If your white blood cells, who are 500 kilometers further away, have also the same response as you have when something spontaneous happens with you. We want to know if your white blood cells experience the same. And when that is the case, we would like to know if, when we connect your body to a bridge of Wheatstone or lie detector, we will also connect through the petri dish a bridge of Wheatstone or a lie detector to your white blood cells to measure tensions. Yeah. We want to know if something happens with you, if something also happens with your white blood cells, even if they are separated from you. That's one. Two, if something happens, is it in the same magnitude or is it less strong? Has the signal weakened by traveling the 500 kilometers of distance between the person and the owner of the white blood cells 500 kilometers away? And if so, if there is a signal, how much time is needed for the signal to come from the person to reach the white blood cells 500 kilometers away? So the person agrees. They take off white blood cells, keep them alive in the petri dish, move them 500 kilometers away. They connect through the liquids in the petri dish, the blood cells, white blood cells, to the lie detector. And they also connect the person who is the owner of the white blood cells to a lie detector. Now, the condition for this experiment to work is that the reaction in the body needs to be spontaneous, not premeditated. So it has to be unforeseen. Yeah. He cannot expect it, but because when he expects it, his body already knows, and the experiment will not work. So what do? They give him, it's a man, so they give him a political journal, weekly issue, I don't know how it's a publical weekly hebdomadaire, I don't know how, journal, yeah. But in the book, the political book, which is boring, they paste the picture of a naked woman. Because, yeah, if a man is looking in a political journal, yeah, and then suddenly he sees a naked woman, yeah, most likely there will be a reaction, unless, yeah, it's a different kind of man. So he didn't know, of course. So he's just going through the journal. Of course, a certain time he sees the picture of the naked woman, which comes as a surprise. So his body is reacting, yeah, on the image. And they see a response on the lie detector, because there is a change in currency, electronic currency in current in his body. And they see on the camera that 500 kilometers away, there is also a response of his white blood cells. And when everything has happened, they compare the drawing of the pen of the lie detector connected to the person, and they compare it with the drawing of the pen of the lie detector connected to the white blood cells. And what do they see? Is that the drawing is identical. There is no difference between the drawing of the person and the drawing of the white blood cells. So they realize that the experience the person had, the white blood cells 500 kilometers away experience the same thing, as if they are still one, connected. But then the question arose, how much time difference is there between the drawing of the lie detector of the person and the lie detector of the white blood cells? And therefore they used an atomic clock to measure, because they knew it was going to be fast. And the atomic clock measured a time of 0 seconds. So, on cellular level, there is no time, everything happens instantly, and there is no distance, even if it's 500 kilometers away or whatever, yeah, there is still a connection. So now think about your mother and your father came together. Your father gave a cell, a semen, and your mother had an egg cell, came together into a zygote. So your father gave a cell, went out of his body. Your mother gave a cell, went out of her body when you were born. And within the womb, this cell, the zygote called, which is the combination of the male cell and the female cell into one cell, became the start of your body. So all the information of your father came in that cell, all the information of your mother came into the cell. And when you were separated, you're still connected. That's why we all are connected. Because with your father, their parents was the same. With your mother, their parents was the same. So that's why within this field, we actually are all connected, what makes it possible to feel one another if you focus on it. So that's how I am able to feel, if I focus on somebody, how this person feels, how you can coach. But it also means you take information from your dad, information from your mother into your own body for you to work with, to have experiences, which is quite fascinating, I think. So, I think this is quite an interesting thing, that everything that has a consciousness has a connection, a living connection with anybody else. Just to share this magnificent thing, that your body has an intelligence of itself, and that we need to visit that intelligence with our mind, because when you were born, how much did you know? Nothing. You had to learn everything. Going to school, meeting friends, parents, all the other people, you start to believe and not believe things. So what I'm trying to say with this, that if your body has an own intelligence and it feels in a certain way, and you want to solve this feeling, thinking about it won't work. Because when you were born, you knew nothing. So how can you find a solution for an emotion in your body with something that knew nothing in the beginning? you had a fully functioning body when you were born. So your body had an intelligence. And that's why when we want to solve something in our life, a certain feeling, a certain emotion, you need to visit that emotion. And a very beautiful example of this method happened with a man who came for a session. And I realized quickly that 90 to 95% of my sessions that I did were with women. And once I asked myself, my heart, how can I get more men for a healing session, an inner journey? And the answer was, if you want that, you need to make the women stronger, more outspoken. And I have to say that all the men that came for an inner journey healing session were pushed in that direction by women. And actually I have to say, I was also pushed by many women into this direction. Which does not mean that women do not have to do some work. We all have to do some work, because if you're in a relationship and one of both is working and the other one isn't, your relationship will break, because it's all about growing and being more conscious, or helping the other one get over. So if you're both very conscious and you can grow together, that would be ideal, but most of the time does not happen. I think I met one couple that was in a workshop together, working together, which I saw that you get a very intense connection, because things come to the surface that you want to hide for the other one to make your relationship work. Yeah. I realized when because there was a lot of trust with people who came for the session, sometimes you get such a close connection that you have to be aware of what is happening. Yeah. But what I wanted to say was, this man was indeed advised by his girlfriend, or in this case a woman, wife, to come for an inner session, an inner journey healing session with me. So he made an appointment, he came, we introduced ourselves one to each other, and he said, I asked him why he made the appointment. And his answer was, because my wife said I needed to make an appointment. So I said, okay. And I asked him, what made your wife think you needed this session? What did she say, why she wanted you to come for a healing session? And he answered, I don't know. So, okay. A little bit of a blockage here, because he was there not knowing why, and I did not know either. But I remember my life. So in my life, something repeated itself all the time. So I told him, is there something in your life, a situation that repeats itself continuously, that you don't like, you don't want it to happen, but it happens, and you want to change it? Because if it repeats itself, it's because you're attracting it all the time. And actually there is, he says. Yeah. I've tried many jobs, different jobs. Yeah. But there is, he said he did like 22 different jobs. But there was not one that really gave him the feeling, that's it. Yeah. For me, I know this, what I'm talking about now, this is it for me. I kept it hidden a long time because I lost my faith a bit because it was not growing. People were coming, but there was no new people coming in. So I started asking people who came multiple times that, do you talk about this? Do you talk? Because I thought mouth to mouth would do the job, but yeah, you cannot explain what you're doing, was the response. So that's also a bit why I'm making these videos in English, to have a large reach language-wise. So, and to reach people who may be interested for a session. Because I like doing this, actually. And I feel it's why I'm walking around here. Not to have, just to do that, actually. So he came and he said, okay, I have this thing, I do many jobs, but it's nothing that I really like, that I feel like, that's it. Yeah. I don't find my passion, was what he said. So I said, okay, if you cannot feel your passion, what you really like, what gives you energy, yeah, then your heart must be unable to let you feel what she is passionate about. So something must block your heart to make you feel what your heart likes. So maybe it is a good time to talk to your heart. And then when I say that, let's talk to your heart, most of the time people are like, how do you mean? So I say, this one time I had 3 ladies who came, and the 4th session was a man. And because the first 3 ladies of the day were used to it, so I could be more open in my questioning without them looking weird. This 4th man was his first time, and because I was in the mood of the first 3, I responded to him, so how is your heart? And he looked at me, what do you mean, how is my heart? Yes, I'm sorry, yeah. I said, can you ask your heart how she is right now? Yeah. So shortly, because I had to introduce him, bring him into his body by breathing and stuff like that. And the answer was, my heart is a stranger, which was absolutely true. Because he never had even thought about visiting his heart and introducing it. But okay, just as an example, how the truth is always revealed by this, by your heart, says consciousness. So back to this man who wants to find his passion, yeah. And he said, don't worry, I will walk you through it, yeah. So I will guide you. So he went down on the table, and I asked him to breathe, and I helped them to come into their body by feeling their body, laying down on the table, being supported by the table. So they come in a state that they relax mentally and come more in presence of their body. I lay my hand on his heart, and my other hand, my left hand on my heart, and my right hand on his heart. And I say to them, okay, you feel my hand on your chest, underneath is your heart. Focus your attention, yeah, to your heart, and ask your heart if she can give you an image of how she is right now. So he does that, and then you have to wait, or I have to wait, until something happens, an answer comes up. And in this case, after a while, it took a while, he said, this is weird. It feels like there is a stone weighing on my heart. It feels like a stone. And recently I watched the documentary of Avicii, who killed himself, and he also talks about the stone, but then in his stomach, yeah? Which is actually a bit the same, but I think nobody came on the idea of talking with the feeling. Yeah? They just wanted to help and get rid of it, but that does not mostly involve talking with what you're feeling. And talking with what you're feeling will give you the solution. So the feeling that gives you the problem has also the solution. But because nobody wants the feeling, they want it away, they are not thinking about actually talking with this feeling. So I invite him to the stone. Yeah. I said, okay, can you reach it? He said, yes, I can, with my energetic hands, because it's an energetic stone, it's not a physical stone, so your physical hands are useless, yeah, because you can lift nothing, because there is nothing. It's only an energy, the feeling that he has. Now I said, can you energetically, with your intention, lift the stone? And I could see with my third eye that he was lifting the stone like 1 or 2 millimeters, not a lot, a little bit. Yeah. But what happened, there was like an enormous wave of tears waking up within his belly that wanted to come up. And he was shocked that he dropped the stone, fell down back on his heart, and the tears went down again and were gone, back into the belly. And I remember he looked at me like saying, what was that? Yeah, because you have to realize in the first 5 seconds of the session, 5 minutes of the session, yeah, that we were laying down, breathing and stuff, he noticed that he can ask an image at his heart consciousness, that he gets an answer in the form of a feeling, being a stone weighing on his heart, while there is no stone physically on his heart, it's only energy. Thirdly, that he can lift the stone from his heart with his intention, and that results in a physical sensation of a wave of tears coming up to want to leave his body. But because he's shocked, he drops the stone again, tears go back down under the stone, done. So I try to explain him that probably the reason that he cannot feel or find his passion is because of the stone on his heart. So what needs to be done is lift the stone, keep it up, and let the tears pass until they're all passed. Then there is no need to be a stone on his heart. His heart will be liberated from the stone. And then his heart would be able to let him feel what she likes, or what he likes, depending on whatever. So his heart consciousness will be liberated from the stone and be able to move freely and inform him what his heart likes or doesn't like. So I tell him that that's what we need to do. But he says, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want those tears. I'm not doing it. So for a moment I was there in a pickle, because I knew what needed to happen, but he was not willing to do it. So my hand stayed on his heart, and I was not giving. I felt that there was energy, because most of the time it happens by the intelligence of my body or someone else's body, because everybody has this intelligence. The only difference is that one is open, one is closed, one has done this, one hand does that. But that will become clear when I talk about this more. So, my hand is on his heart. I feel some loving energy coming out of the chakra of my hand into his heart. And it's silent for a while, because I'm not asking anything, because I don't know what to do, actually, in that moment. And suddenly he swears, but loud. He says, "What the fuck is this?" Yeah. I said, "What?" yeah, I always have to think about one situation and I cannot stop thinking about that situation. It's persistent. It pushes itself to me and I don't want to think about it because it happened so many years ago. So I asked him, okay, I knew then this had something to do with the stone, obviously. So I said to him, what are you thinking about? He says, I was only 9 years old. I'm 42 now. So what the hell can something that happened then be of value now? It's like 30 years ago. I said, what happened when you were 9? Yes, and he started telling what happened. So the thing was, he was 9 years old, and when he was 9 years old, there was for the first time that there was an erotic program that was going to be broadcasted on the Dutch television. It was Friday evening, it was late in the evening, and they were all sitting in the living room, in the sofa, father, mother, he and his sister. They were all watching this erotic program. And at a certain moment, there is, of course, an erotic dressed woman that is appearing on the screen. And when this woman appears, he, the 9-year-old boy, does this because he's tired, because it's late in the evening. But his father sees that and interprets what he sees differently, because his dad starts laughing with him. It says enough of the dad. Yeah. And his dad starts making fun of him, because there was this erotic woman that appeared on the screen, and he was rubbing his eyes because he was tired, and his father made it that he could not watch an erotic dressed woman, which was not the case, because he could watch it, it's no problem. Yeah. But his father started to humiliate him, that he was weak, that he could not look, and he started laughing at him. Yeah, that he was. So he was, first it was his father, then of course his mother laughed for some reason together with the father, and his sister did as well. So they all made fun of him. And he started crying because he could not persuade them and convince them that it was just because he was tired, that he had no problem with looking at an erotic dressed woman. But it became worse and worse. So suddenly because he was defending himself, he said, you don't have to defend yourself, it's true, you don't have to ignore it, you're like that. And he couldn't defend himself, so he jumped up out of the sofa, went to the hallway and cried. Yeah. Because he could not defend himself. Nobody was there for him. He was alone in this situation. On top of that, the neighbors who saw a light in the house stopped by, and because there was a good relationship between those two neighbors, they rang the front door because they saw a light in the living room. So they thought, we're gonna pass and say hello. So the mother opens the front door. The little boy is standing in the hallway. The neighbors come in, see him standing crying. Yeah. The neighbors ask the mother, what's happening? The mother is laughing and even more ridiculizing him, yeah, because he could not watch, so they said he was like weak, yeah, or something in that manner. So the neighbors start laughing with him as well. So for him, of course, when you're a grown-up, it's just fun. But for him as a 9-year-old, it was not so much fun. So the neighbors go into the living room, then he hears from within the hallway his father doing the whole conversation, and they are all starting to laugh with him, which he took very personal. And then, in that hallway, hearing that, being ridiculized because he is emotional and crying, he decides to never in his life cry one tear. So as a 9-year-old, he decides to never again cry one tear for the rest of his life, because it's so painful to be humiliated because you cry. That's why he decides to do that. And for me, it was obvious that this decision to never cry one tear in his life again, that probably would be what the stone is standing for. The stone is representing his decision that he made as a 9-year-old to never cry again. But I cannot tell him that directly, like, oh, I know what it is, I know what it is. Because then you would get a discussion. Because he would say, no, it's not that, because he didn't want to cry. So that's why you can, as an emotional body worker, you can never say to anyone, it's that. No. You need to help them discovering it for themselves. That's why you have to guide them. So I said to him, okay, I think what is happening here, but you need to verify something. Can you ask the stone if this stone represents your decision to never cry? And the moment he asked it, stone went away, and the tears welled up from his belly with such a force that it humbled me seeing it, because he was fighting all those tears, all of them, because he decided, I am not going to cry. I tried to invite him, because it's such a big fight. Stop fighting, let it go, because there is nothing wrong with being emotional. Sometimes people say, yeah, but if you're emotional, you're weak. Then I reply, if you can't handle emotions, how strong are you then? Because if you cannot handle that, in my case, from my point of view, you're weak, because you cannot handle emotions. So holding down emotions, you may have a fight, but you're not strong. In fact, if you could say to your emotions, I'm here, I love you, you can come to expression as you are, because I love you anyway. That's being in power. If somebody else would judge me on that, I would be there. And I did several times, because if I'm emotional, I'm emotional. I'm not asking for the emotions. It's myself that's emotional. And it's a way of releasing tension and other suffering. So nobody has to tell me that I cannot be emotional, because I will not ask nobody not to be emotional as well, because it's part of who you are. It's part of your body. It's a part of energy. It's energy in motion, emotion, energy in motion. So if you keep down this emotion, it will create diseases. It will create areas that are so tense that they do not breathe. And if they do not breathe, they lack oxygen. And if they lack oxygen, if there is no oxygen in those areas, probably in this area cancer will pop up. Because in 1935 there was a doctor who received a Nobel Prize, Dr. Ed Warburg, I think it's Warburg, yeah, because he proved that in an oxygen-rich body there can be no cancer. So if you have a lot of tension and you're not breathing, you're depriving that area of oxygen, that's why cancer is most of the time connected to a conflict, inner conflict. Yeah. So he was fighting these emotions. So I tried to let him open up and have the emotions just as they is, because it's the truth. The truth will set you free. So the truth of your tears will set you free, and then you will know. Yeah. But now he already knew because of the story he told. And he kept on fighting. No matter what I say, no matter how I pushed, he was fighting until the force of the tears was so strong that one tear, in the session, just one, came out of his left eye and rolled down. Just one. One tear rolled down. And for him, he lost the battle. There were millions of tears pushing. One he was not able to hold down. And his decision to never cry one tear had been broken. I was happy with that one tear because I knew, okay, the curse, as if to say, has been broken. He was devastated because he had lost the battle. He was scared of being humiliated because he had cried one tear, which I didn't, of course, because if you do that, if somebody is in pain like this and emotional, you're not going to say, you cannot be emotional. Stupid. Have your emotions, you're human. How much love do you have for somebody who is emotional? Yeah. Most of the time, if you have troubles with someone's emotions, you probably have problems with your own emotions. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Okay, just saying. We didn't say a lot after that, because eventually, tears, because of those one tear, he cried a bit more afterwards. We didn't say a lot. He was exhausted. Went home. Have never seen him again. But I knew that what had happened was needed and broke the decision he had made. The stone was gone. Weeks later, via other people, I heard that his wife has told a friend that I knew that he had changed, that his wife felt the difference and was very happy with what has happened, especially when you're in a relationship and you're talking to somebody who's closed off all the time. It's not so pleasant for the other one because it's all mental and no feeling. Yeah. So that's one of the sessions I had. So what I want to say is, if somebody is coming to you and you're a therapist, try to invite the person to help himself. You can guide him, but you always have to ask. If you don't ask the heart what needs to be done, for me, in all the sessions I did, it always gave the right solution that was needed that time in that person's life. So it's just an invitation to visit your heart with me or somebody else, I don't care. I'm giving out this information in this video for other men to use, maybe because I had a session with a psychotherapist who was impressed, and she said, okay, what you're doing here goes far deeper than what I'm doing. And I learned afterwards that she was using what she had experienced in her therapy or sessions with her clients. So that's always a very good feeling for me, that I have contributed to life, let me say that is. And that's the only reason why I'm doing these videos, because I want to do this job for other people. I want to help people change their lives and changing mine, because I know this is what I need to do. I have pushed it away a long time, but now I'm coming out with this. So I thank you. It's a long video, but I think it's valuable information. At least I think about that it's a valuable information. And if it's not valuable, I don't think there is anything valuable anymore. So share it with people if you want. Help me get this information out there. Other videos will come, all interesting, because they were always they were crazy experiences. How your heart can help and change things in your body. It's not just something that pumps blood. It's a universal, loving, conscious being. I thank you for watching. I'm glad to have made this video, and maybe we see each other again somewhere, somehow. Thank you.